Hello and welcome. This is another Bot Bash tournament. I am a Normalism, and today we have Eldar versus Dark Eldar on Warhammer Soulstorm, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War. Should be an interesting little fight. We've returned to Erebus Badlands. We're going to see what happens. I've got the Emasculators. That's the skin chosen for the Dark Elves, but it doesn't really show up with their color scheme. The whole purpley aesthetic kind of overrides everything, all these glowing purple lights and stuff. Meanwhile, the Eldar, you can sort of see the Bealtan? Apology for the butchering of that. Cap this one. Where are you going with your Guardians? That's just inefficient. You could have sent them to catch that, and then those guys back there, and then sent another squad forward. Or if you weren't going for a third squad, you just could have done this entire thing better. Well, this is why we watch the AI and watch their quirks. So I guess we'll minimize that for now so we can get a full view of the screen. And while the teams are setting up, I guess it's a good time to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each team. Eldar, they have everything. Strong infantry, really strong infantry, versatility. Banshees, Harlequins, good at disrupting infantry. Fire Dragons, good at, taking down vehicles. When you get the Banshee shout, you can really weaken the morale of your enemies. Dark Shurikens, I can't remember what they're called. Reapers. Reaper squads. I remember their weapon. The Reaper squads are good at destroying infantry. Guardians are acceptable, they're just an infantry unit. I'm not actually sure how they match up against other infantry of the same tier. It'd be interesting to check. But yeah, Eldar are strong. Get a Ranger squad, you can really do some damage there. Good at eliminating single primary targets, or just destroying morale of squads. And then when you get to the vehicles, they've got your Wraithwalker, your grav tanks, jet bikes, all the like. Very, very devastating team, and with the fleet of foot that they've activated, they can really mobilize their forces around the battlefield. Meanwhile, Dark Eldar, trash. I don't care much for the Dark Eldar. It's because of their primary mechanic, their alternate build style. A lot of things just don't seem to mesh properly with the game and what they were going for. The build style of summoning buildings means you just have idle time for your workers, especially early on. And I know the idea is that you're meant to have one of these slave chambers produce you souls so you can collect them to use for your abilities. But that just ties into another problem with them, which is the soul abilities. Just basically the faith mechanic of the Sisters of Battle, but kind of better and worse. I mean, it's global. You have 6 global abilities you can use across the entire thing, but it just isn't interesting, to be honest. It would have been cool if they did something, I don't know. I don't really know the Dark Eldar, to be honest. They're kind of a blind spot for me. I know some of their lore, but I don't know if this translates to some tabletop game mechanic that existed, like the Necrons getting back up after death. That kind of thing. So I have no idea if that's something the Dark Eldar actually have, is like an ability where they cast it out over the entire battlefield. But if you're just going to do standard RTS terms, the Dark Eldar are also pretty bad in that regard. They don't have unique features. Like right now, what are they doing?
Victory countdown has begun.
Running a race already. No, well, the Dark Eldar have claimed the critical location. An addition to the game necessary because of how poorly the AI show in combat. They're very bad at annihilating each other. So ideally I want them to fight around something, and hopefully the AI knows well enough to fight around that objective. Yeah, as an RTS team goes, melee first unit for the Dark Eldar. I'm not sure if that really plays to their strength. They get the Hounds later on, which is sort of a strong melee unit, so I'm not sure if you needed the Mandrakes, and then the Mandrakes are stealth, which is really awkward again. It doesn't click with me why their team is designed that particular way. Again, that's probably just a tabletop unit that they've put into play. Got the Warrior squads.
6 minutes until take and hold victory.
Is it the Hellions? I can't remember. The Scourge, sorry. The Scourge are their only anti-vehicle source of unit, which is also their jump jet unit. Infantry, I mean, early on. So Scourge are really strange, and you have to upgrade them into being anti-vehicle, because before that they're not. Again, I mentioned Sisters of Battle. Having a ranged jump jet is counterintuitive, because you want your jump jet to get in on the enemy and stop them from attacking. It's to disable a ranged unit or something of the, surprise the enemy, flank them, use positioning that they can't otherwise be prepared for. And so when you have a ranged jump jet infantry, it's sort of counterintuitive. I know you have mandrakes that can sort of do that, but it just overall is very odd and weird and strange. See this Dark Reapers coming in. And the Farseer, she's going to go give this listening post a wait, Tower of Loathing? That's what they're called? Okay. I loved Dark Reapers when this game first came out. Eldar were my preferred team, I think. Again, my combat style has always been stand back and shoot. I just happened to pick the most overpowered team. But in playing the campaign, you'd see me with four squads of heavy bolters on my Space Marines, because that was just the most fun for me. That was how I liked to play. And yeah, Eldar seemed to complement that the best with the Dark Reapers. And then when the tower came along, that was just the next logical decision. Seeing our first big skirmish here, I don't think we can select all the troops, but I think this favors the Eldar just by sheer bulk of numbers and allowing those units to shoot for so long. The Farseer really needs to be the one in the melee range, taking the hits and dealing the damage. Being out of the combat there is like, she's not a good shooting character. Characters generally aren't good at shooting. You just want them to be in there and swinging. Here we go, yep. Gun him down. You have the numbers, you have 3 squads here, you should just be able to shoot him to death. Just tank it melee with turn off fleet of foot, so you don't lose accuracy. And then just fight. Oh, my dog's whining. Not sure if you could hear it. Oh, that was a launch. That guy came back up on his feet. Oh, we've got the Rangers here as well. Yeah, this should be a pretty easy cleanup. Like, the fact that they're having so much difficulty with just the Archon is kind of laughable. I think it is because of liberal application of Fleet of Foot. They are turning it on and off, but the fact that they're turning it on and shooting sometimes does inhibit their ability to fight properly. And now we're finally going to see this route. Has there been fighting going on anywhere else? Not really.
6 minutes until take and hold victory.
Looks like the Dark Eldar haven't really made much progress, if any. They're getting a Dark Foundry, which is a big deal. Eldar will need to respond in kind. Not seeing... Oh, okay, so they're getting the Soul Shrine, and then they'll probably move up to their vehicles. What is it called? Weapons platform? I can't quite remember. I'm a little bit rusty on Eldar as well. Again, when I have Tau available to me, Eldar just push them to the side. There's no sort of wow unit that I really want. Yeah, there's the Falcon Grav Tank. Not the Grav Tank, the Prism Tank. And I always loved the Avatar. But when my strategy favors stand back and shoot, and the standard infantry of the Tau, the Fire Warriors, are just so amazing, you know, it just feels so much better. Tau as well don't have a jump jet infantry that can get into melee, but I think the exception for the Tau is that they're not meant to be a melee team. Their melee units are meant to put up, there goes one of the Dark Souls ability, Dark Souls, Soulstorm abilities. I can't remember what this one is, but it just destroys morale. Very good in a fight, not so good when you're just running around. That's been uncapped and will be captured again. See the first Raider coming out, a very effective vehicle, but cannot see these ranges. The Eldar will need to make sure that they have some sort of anti-vehicle, or this game could quickly swing in the favor of the Dark Eldar. Albeit, running into 4 squads, 3 squads I guess, is not the best way to go about it. That is tanking so much damage without achieving too much right now. Like, you see how long it took 3 infantry squads, full infantry squads, to take down that vehicle. That's how dangerous vehicles can be in this game. See the webbing going down, Entangle I believe it's called. See more Soulstorm abilities going down. Again, I don't know the names of all of them. The only one I ever remember using was the All-Seeing Eye and Soulstorm. The armor-reducing one as well, I guess. I used them, I just never really checked what they were. And this is a massacre. The Eldar are getting slaughtered. The L10 Eldar are not going to make it. The Homunculus ability goes down, trapping, I believe it's the Homunculus ability, trapping the Guardians in place and freeing up the Dark Eldar to go wholesale slaughter there. Got some Fire Dragons finally coming out to deal with the Iggy's, deal with the Raider, and Support Portal, that's what it's called. We need to see some really strong vehicles
6
coming out of
minutes
this.
until taken
Fully
hold
upgraded
victory.
Aspect Portal should now see Banshees coming out. I'm surprised we didn't see any sooner. I would definitely get them over Reapers in most matchups. Banshees are just such a strong unit, combined with Fleet of Foot taking away the accuracy of your enemy, I believe it does, or giving you the mobility to go in. And then you switch on a dime to melee. Banshees are just a devastating troop, and you cannot overstate how effective they are. The Eldar have hidden all of their everything. We are never going to be able to see the Eldar again. So the victory here will come down to who controls this critical point. And I think that is how we're going to decide victories in the future, is purely based off critical points. Here comes a Harlequin. This will just be the most annoying thing in the world. As a player, or they won't use their ability at all, and they'll just die.
5 minutes until
Why?
taken hold victory.
Fire Dragon's rolling up, but unless they specifically target... Okay, here we go. The Raiders should start to melt under this firepower, and see that 4 squads did less than this one squad did in just a couple of seconds, you know? Ah, there we go. There's a Harlequin bouncing around. I guess they're kind of set up to deal with it. As a player, I always have a hard time. Hellions coming in. Ah, here we go. Wraith Lord. I don't know what I called it earlier. Probably a Wraith Walker or something. Something stupid. Talos. Here we go. The beefy boys are going to fight, but this should... That Wraith Lord will go down, but so will the Talos under the Fire Dragon. And we're only just seeing Dark Lancers coming out on these Scourges now. This is definitely the fight that could decide the game. Got Witches taking on Guardians and Dark Reapers. So long as that Talos goes down, I believe the Eldar should be able to turn this fight around. They've still got the Rangers hidden just over here in the corner. We do have Mandrakes forcing units into melee, but I don't know, I just felt like the squad numbers were in their favor. We've got another Aspect Portal coming up here that could make a big difference as well. That Falcon Grav Tank might suffer against these Scourges, but it seems like the Dark Eldar might hold the central point and win that way at this rate. Warp Spiders, oh maybe that's what they take into the building. I forgot Warp Spiders, they're amazing. Anti-vehicle grenades and teleporting shooty boys, they're so good. Again, another team without jump jet infantry, but the Eldar, like I said, I feel more like a stand back and shoot team, much like the Tau did. So it feels like the teams that are meant to not engage in melee typically have a jump jet infantry that shoots well, and the teams that are meant to engage in infantry, such as in melee, such as the Space Marines and the Orcs, they have those melee aggressive jump jet infantry. And that's where Deep Strikes don't apply. That is the wrong platform. You wouldn't be Shuriken Cannon there, buddy. Gonna lose that Aspect Portal, that's a bit of a pity. But looks like Fire Dragon's going in incorrectly. That is a big mistake. I think the thing that's really stopping the Eldar right now is all these Dark Eldar Soulstorm abilities, whatever they're called, the magic abilities they can use, are really inhibiting the Eldar's ability to get in the fight. Is that even doing any decent waves damage? Not really. I mean, he's dying, but I think that's more because of the support platform than the Bright Lancers. I've never liked these platforms. I think they have a place, sort of. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Well, they're dead. They kind of die easy when you have the counter. They're like really light vehicles, and I suspect they exist because they existed in the tabletop. They're not bad, they give your webways something you can build out of them, so you can deploy forces kind of wherever you need them. The webways already do that with transporting troops inside, so it's just sort of weird. But this should be a massacre against the Dark Eldars here. Yeah, that's going to be a cleanup. Over here, another big fight's going down. Got the Seer Council in there. The Rangers appear to be... Oh no, that's just more Seer Council. A Harlequin bouncing around, just being very disruptive. Fire Dragons coming in, not being very helpful, but the Wraith Lord should carry most of this fight as long as the Scourge don't target it. And it looks like from the south side now we've got a big Eldar force coming in. Here's where these support platforms are actually invaluable. They provide an effective anti-vehicle unit that's a single entity, a bit tougher than an individual infantry unit, but still vulnerable in its own way. But it's very effective at long-range poking. Oh, actually, that's a shuriken cannon. Nice. Yeah, this looks like a very dominant Eldar position right now. I'd be surprised if the Dark Eldar could fight back against this effectively. These Fire Dragons can get cleaned up. This is a very big force right now. We've got 2 Wraith Lords, Falcon Grav Tank. They're all just pushing in, taking down the Thermo Generator. The Scourge are now been pulled into melee, so they're not even being maximized efficiency against this Wraith Lord. We're going to jump down here, but that's still in range of the Shuriken Cannon, I believe. Yeah, so they're already going to get peppered by anti-infantry fire, and they're really suffering under that. Although you see the return fire of the Scourge is so heavy, so strong against the anti-vehicle. And this is where the Scourge, they're sort of a necessary anti-vehicle unit. So it's just so strange for the Dark Eldar that they start with anti-vehicle, anti-infantry weaponry. The Dark Eldar, I don't know, maybe I just don't know them well enough, but I don't remember them. You could use Warp Beasts, I guess, but they don't have a lot of things that are good against vehicles. It's just the Warp Beasts, the Scourge, and then it's vehicles, just their vehicles from then on. So it's just very strange to me sometimes that they don't have more accessible anti-vehicle tech. I know it's not every team does. Most teams have to tech into it. You have to get rockets on your Space Marines, your Battle Brothers. You have to... Wow, that grenade was cool. I know you have to get, tank busters or the big mech upgrade to disable vehicles and Zords, but it just, as time went on, it became more and more apparent by design that anti-vehicle was something you need in the mid-game. The transition from the early game infantry to mid-game vehicles, is devastating if you don't have an easy way to answer it. And Scourge feel like an easy way to answer it. It felt like a very delayed way to answer it. You got these Fire Dragons laying into these Witches, but they should be targeting the Talos. Though the Talos are dying pretty effectively without them. Mostly because support platforms, opening fire. Who claimed that? Okay, I like it. The Eldar claimed it, now the Dark Eldar are unclaiming it. It's definitely made for more dynamic battles having that critical point, because the AI have had to go and deal with it. This has also just been a very action-packed fight throughout. Eldar should take this one easy by just taking that point and then putting a webway and then turret, all invisible, and it'll never be taken back from them. It seems like the battling the tide of war has stemmed for the time being. One thing I've noticed is the AI is very bad at taking this area on the map, and same on this south side. The AI doesn't seem to push past this point. You got some warp spiders already stuck there doing nothing. They should be coming over here attacking this, or going up there capturing that. Again, I do have a cutoff point. If no one has won, or it seems like no one is going to win, about, let's say, 45 minutes. We'll just take whoever looks like they're in the most significant lead and accept them as the true winner.
Victory countdown has begun.
Sneaky subversive wins where they just take the critical location and hold it for 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Totally counts. That is totally in flavor for both these teams. It's totally in flavor for the game. I'm worried about these warp spiders. I think they're going to be stuck there forever now. And the Eldar are now pressing in. Oh, Diasim Destruction. Here we go. They need to immediately turn on that with everything they have. They have so many forces around here. That Talos went down really quick. The Dias isn't invincible, right? But it has enough power that it, should be able to drive off a large force here. I wonder if we'll get to see the Eldar Avatar of Cain. More units just loitering around it. Are they waiting for repairs?
6
That's
minutes
kind of
until
weird.
taken hold victory.
You know, if the Dark Eldar take this, I'm going to be eating my words. I would not have picked the Dark Eldar to win. But if they win through some cheesy thing, like they just claimed the middle, or if they get into a dominant position, because they've been on the back foot, but stuff like this could end the game. And, you know, another Wraith Lord coming back. You know, Warp Spiders not in the fight. Just stuff everywhere. This is interesting. Turn around and hit it. Hit it. You can destroy it. Capture it. Okay, maybe you can't destroy it. You are getting kind of killed here. Alright, back to the main battle. The Deus of Destruction. Has it already died? No, there it is. That is the Deus of Destruction. I think the Deus of Destruction is lame as a relic unit. Look at it. It's just another vehicle. The Ravager is basically the same looking as the Deus of Destruction. The Deus of Destruction just has like a bigger spoiler. It's just a sized up version. It's got some wings on the side, some platforms. It's nothing special. When you have a relic unit, it should be special. Sisters of Battle, they get an angel. An indestructible angel, or she makes nearby units invulnerable. She's amazing. Avatar of Cain, giant fiery war god, shard of a war god. Amazing. Land Raider, or is it Land Raider the Space Marines get? It's a tank. It's lame. Give us something cool. Squiggoth, amazing. Giant stompy dinosaur. Who could hate that? Okay, good job. They captured that. Now they just need a worker to come over, drop down a, you know, listening shrine. I'm always going to call them listening post because that's just the default to me in my brain. Well, now we are seeing the Eldar getting pushed back, but I don't know if it'll last forever. Sure, they've got the Deus of Destruction out. Somewhere. Oh, up here? No? Maybe it went home for repairs. Oh, there it is. Yeah, got the Deus of Destruction. Look at that damage it's not doing. It's effective against all units. You weren't doing any damage to that grav tank. You are only effective against, like, infantry, surely. But yeah, it does alright against infantry. But I guess the problem is it's only doing alright against infantry. It's your capstone vehicle. It is your game changer. It is your game winner, you know. It is the thing that you're meant to drop into the enemy and make them cringe in fear. But right now, it's just sort of a gun. It's like a turret, basically. Look how slow it is at killing things. You would be better off building Raiders, Ravagers, and all those kinds. It's just not... Nothing I've seen about it is impressive right now. Okay, that's impressive. Okay, that is very impressive. I will grant it. The laser is cool. Everything else about it, lame. That's like saying the Squiggoth Ram ability is cool, but the Squiggoth is just like another tank, you know? It's really underselling what it could be. I know there's probably not anything else for the Dark Eldar to build off of. But when it's just a vehicle, it's really hard to sell it, you know? At least in my opinion. It's really not that impressive. So far, no clear winner in this competition, in this match. Like, I'd want to hand it to the Eldar, but the Dark Eldar pushed them back significantly, and have continued pushing them back.
6 minutes until taken hold victory.
Like, the Eldar haven't made much progress for a long time. Oh, I thought that was going to be Eldar forces. Running over here will be a quick death for anything that comes this way. These Dark Eldar are these Warp Spiders are in position to lay waste to anything. Although maybe killing them will help the Eldar because it'll free these units from being trapped here. Still, I think this is going to be a devastating loss for... They teleported. Nice. Okay, they're free. They can join the game again. Fire Prism? No, Falcon Grab Tank. Thought I saw a little bit of purple on there. spending too much time preparing your vehicles. Roll up with something more. I like that they're pushing out on the sides a little bit. Another big fight going on up here. It's kind of a perpetual fight at this point almost. Again, the infinite resources this game provides means you can have stalematey situations, especially where the AI are concerned. And for human players, that can be actually a lot of fun. Just to send in waves of troops fighting over and over. But typically you'll find you'll get bored of it eventually, entering into the grind. You will want something that ends the game. And in a way, that's what relic units are meant to do. They're meant to be that capstone unit that ends the game. Another game that does a similar thing is Supreme Commander. They play on your main hero builder is your your first thing you start with is like a superhero unit that is also your builder. And a lot of people play with the assassinate condition, where if that dies, the game ends. And as you get up and up in the tiers, they have a bunch of relic units, if you're not familiar. It's kind of like relic units, super powerful late game infantry, not infantry, super late game powerful vehicles. Some of them very cool. Some of them are buildings, artillery. Some of them are just resource generators that provide infinite resources. Some are giant flying warships, some are whatever. Building any one of them can be enough to end the game. And some of them absolutely will end the game if they're left untouched. And it's amazing, because you can get to that late game, and building these things, there's sort of counters and checks you need to do to make sure you're prepared for them, and you need to scout properly to know that your enemy has them. And so Supreme Commander late game ends up being this really interesting experience of who will pull the trigger right, who will get the right thing, who can support it with their economy, and get that edge over the enemy, and drop that final fatal blow. Like that is Soulstorm right there. Poor Rangers. I like how I can select the Soulstorm. That's really dumb. Why can I select that? It's not a unit. Can harm allied units. Where you can guide it? Oh, well that's why you can select it. Move it. Move it towards the enemy. Yeah, it doesn't know how to do that. And so that's what relic units feel like they should be in this game. And for the Eldar, the Avatar of Cain supercharges your buildings so that they produce faster, I believe. And that does feel like something that should end the game. You have a really strong unit, and your buildings produce faster. The problem the Eldar are having right now is they're vehicle capped, I would guess, meaning they're not building prism tanks. They're not building their late game units because they're just repairing the ones they already have, which is really just allowing the Dark Eldar to gain more and more ground, albeit the Dark Eldar are still trapped in this top corner for the time being. A nice little military outpost here. This is the kind of thing you kind of want with the Eldar, just sprawl out production with a webway everywhere. You'll never die. You can always just pop out with a bunch of troops. I think Dawn of War could have used a sequel that was actually a sequel of Dawn of War, instead of just an in-name sequel. Dawn of War 2 was a good game. I never touched Dawn of War 3, but it was not an RTS game like Dawn of War 1 is, where it really could have used that refining edge, that more modern polish, that cleanness. This feels like one of those early 2000s RTS games, the first half of 2000, where everything's a little bit clunky, and it's not bad, it's just a little bit, rough around the edges. What I mean by that is units are very gluey, units paving is very awkward. Even just moving an infantry squad in and around itself, they tend to bump on each other a lot in certain circumstances. Like the front guys here will stop and shoot, and the back guys will bump, run around them like that. You end up with this really awkward sort of paving. When you try and move lots of vehicles, the telltale sign of this is when you try and move a large number of vehicles in a small space, they have the hardest time navigating around each other. It's because when they transition to 3D, because they weren't applying to grid, this unit takes up this much grid space, and units couldn't form into a neat grid. They started using, I presume, circular or rectangular paving models. Like when you hover over this Viper, he's got that rectangular selection box underneath him. I don't know if that represents his actual model size, but can you imagine if it did? Or even if it's just a circle around him, like an oval shape. Can you imagine moving a bunch of ovals in and around each other efficiently? It's really awkward to do. Seeing another big battle here, but no one currently holds the central point. I think one of the problems is the teams will send just a single infantry squad to cap or uncap it, meaning no one ever truly controls it. If the fighting was around here, we'd see a decisive winner fairly quickly because someone would have to, take it and fight over it. And the only way to grab it back would be to do it while under fire, and that would not go down too well. But you should see before long, when the fighting moves away from this area, a Dark Eldar will run down there. Some Dark Eldar squad. Oh, got units stuck there. Dark Reapers, a Shuriken Cannon, a Grav Tank. Yep. This is what I've come to expect from these maps. From this map as well, not only this map, there was another map that had similar problems. Whoa. Shooting out the laser. Don't know if he got much done with it. Let's go have a look through the teams. So over here, the Eldar only have their Farseer, no other significant units. They haven't even finished upgrading their support portal here, but I believe...
6 minutes until take and hold victory.
They have the resources for it. There's no justification for why they haven't. They should have fire prisms. They just don't. Oh, there it goes. Just now, just as I started criticizing. Or no? Actually, no, I don't think so. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Yeah, no fire prisms coming. They just haven't, for no reason. I kind of don't know what to say about that. It feels like something they should have by now, is the fire prism upgrade. Mobilize for war, whatever it is that the Eldar have. Dark Eldar? I don't know, I'm sure they've got Planetary Raid. They have Infinite Souls by now, presumably. 2 Cabal Fortresses. So at this point, everyone has infinite armies, right? They ideally have all of their techs unlocked. But the fact that we're not seeing any fire prisms from the Eldar is a real shame. And if the Eldar end up winning just by holding that point, it's a valid victory, but it's not an earned victory. The Dark Eldar went through their full tech tree. I guess the real problem is the Dark Eldar did go through their full tech tree and didn't win. So it's like, what do you say at that point? If you can access your entire tech tree and you don't win, when your opponent hasn't reached their relic unit, they haven't used their strongest tank, like, do you deserve to win at that point? And I'm not sure you do. Mandrick's running in. Because look at this. This is just devastating the Dark Eldar right now. Without that Dice of Destruction, without their Raiders, without their, they've run home to repair all their vehicles. And while their vehicles are repairing, they're not winning the fight. The Eldar infantry are just tearing them to shreds. This is giving them the chance to claim that central point without contest. The Raiders are coming back now, so they should be able to push back a little bit, but it might be too little too late in regards to momentum, because now they're just driven away almost instantly. They need to build up a large force and go all at once, rather than in pieces. The Archon running in first would actually maybe make a big difference there, a big help in changing how the fight plays out. But so far, it just... yeah, I love the little spinny Talos too. If nothing else, the game was very creative with its visuals. Well, it seems like the Eldar might have this, unless this Warrior Squad or Mandrakes, yeah, they're going to go on Kappa with that. Unless the Banshees hang around, but no. They're going to uncap it, and we're going to go to final. At this point, if this gets uncapped, we basically just have to acknowledge, oh, there went down the Eldritch Storm. We are just going to have to accept if this gets uncapped that we are going to a full 45-minute game, at which point I will call a winner. And at this point, it still looks like it's going to be the Eldar, because despite them having this stupidity of not having fire prisms, not bringing their A game, basically, they're still winning quite dominantly, and they got the timer down the lowest out of anyone, down below 3 minutes. So it seems like the Eldar are much more deserving of this win right now, and even now, they are just pushing in, and I'm not sure what the Dark Eldar can do to really stop them. Again, it's unlikely that the Dark Eldar will ever lose, because the ability to produce units is just too easy in this game. But the Eldar are devastating them. If they push down here and take out this base, that's a Dark Foundry gone, you know? It's progress to victory. They'll get stuck at this choke point again, or this one. They'll get absolutely stuck there, but they've kind of lost at this point. There's no sort of... Like, the Eldar are in too dominant a position. The Dark Eldar aren't going to come back and win unless the Eldar get stuck on terrain and lose squads, things like that. As predicted, to be fair, I did expect the Dark Eldar would died standing. The Dark Eldar, I did predict, were going to not be able to stand up to the Eldar, much like I predicted a couple of other encounters in the past. But it was still worth seeing what they might do. Competitively speaking, I know I've trash talked Dark Eldar quite a lot, but I have actually seen competitive games of Dawn of War, and the Dark Eldar perform just as well as any other team. If anything, the Scourge that I harped on about so significantly, they can be devastating. You get 2 or 3 squads of them and their anti-vehicle guns, find a good corner, you know, a good place to stand over a hill, jump down, bam, 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 gone. It takes them barely, you know, 10 seconds to destroy an important building, like take out a support portal, or even you could go for a webway assembly. With 3 squads of Scourge, you can devastate your enemies if they are not ready for that kind of jump jet activity. And there's a lot of places to do it on maps. There's lots of those standoff choke points. That was funny. But look at this sprawling Eldar force. Like, they've stalled on this turret. They've stalled on this turret, and that turret's gonna die pretty soon. All the sounds, just hilarious. I was just listening for a moment. The Ravager might be able to turn it back, but if they lose that Tower of Loathing, that's it. This area is lost. Up here, the fight's a little bit more even because the forces are spread out right now.
5 minutes
They're kind
until
of
take and hold victory.
haphazardly spread out. If the Dark Eldar clinch this out through a time and victory, through taking the critical point, I'm going to be so mad because I do not think they deserve to win at this point. It's very, like, when you are on the back foot the entire game, making almost no progress. Like, the furthest they got on the map was out to about here before the Eldar drove them back. And if you remember, the Eldar had units stuck there. They've had some units stuck down here. I guess they moved on wherever they were. There was like a Wraith Lord and other things. Just clipping on the terrain. By the time, you know, if you can't win when you have that advantage of vehicle and squad cap, you don't deserve to win. They have the tech advantage, they had the numbers advantage, arguably. You know, they had the relic unit.
They are more than I can fight.
And now they've got units at home as well, so I guess the argument is kind of moot, but yeah. Alright, this is the actual 100% last chance. If this cap doesn't go through, I'm calling the game, and it will be an Eldar victory, unless the Dark Eldar do something very significant. And I'm not sure what they could do that's significant enough to lay claim to this victory. Like, I don't know what they could possibly do or say at this point to say, yeah, we put our hand up, we fought hard, and we deserve to win. Because while they've rushed out here with their entire army, not quite their entire army, there's still a couple of pieces back here. While they've done that, they're going to lose a Dark Foundry. The Eldar have just swarmed over this hill, they're losing another Tower of Loathing. So that's 2 listening posts taken down. They might even lose the control points. Yep, they're going to uncap that. Dark Foundry gone. Uncap that one next. It looks like they gained ground, they lost ground. And meanwhile, the Eldar still have 2 squads guarding the critical point.
Victory countdown has begun.
And here we go. The final victory countdown. Win or lose. So what they need is for the Guardian squad to run up this way to ensure that no sneaky boys creep around the side. But it seems like there's enough Eldar units everywhere that they might be able to intervene if anything tries to just run straight in and get it immediately. Disappointing, Eldar. Very disappointing. Please, please shoot. Or are they invisible? They're invisible, aren't they? Don't let them cap. This is, again, another violent fight, but there's just so much Eldar presence. They're all over the Dark Eldar. I almost want to give the Eldar a victory lap, where they get to just go around and kill things, but it's just not going to happen at this point. Like, I know how this goes. The game just doesn't end. I've seen it before, and it can be very painful. That's why I added in the the control point and critical location victory conditions. Ouch. Very sad there to see that go. Warp Beast tearing down a Wraith Lord. Jet Bike needs to be careful. Yep, he's going to retreat there. The Eldar are actually getting pushed back. They overcommitted here. The Dark Eldar's ability to reinforce has... I don't know, it's kind of close now that I look at it. I want to say they're getting pushed back, and overall I think they are, but not as much as I thought they were. Like, they've got still these units coming in reinforcement, they're retreated. They still have this dominant hillside position. They still have plenty of forces on the ground in the fighting. If these, if they could just pick their fights and get their matchup. And they're taking a relic away from the Dark Eldar.
Until take and hold victory.
Yeah, the Eldar have definitely got a dominant position now. The point that you take the enemy's relic, that's just showing it to them. This would actually be an interesting 4-player map, since there are only 2 relics. You'd have to compete for those particular zones. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the units getting stuck on terrain is actually necessarily a map issue. It is, in part, an AI issue, but the fact that the AI gets stuck, there has to be some fault of the map in there, you know? You can only say it's the AI so much. The other map definitely was was the map's fault, where the AI was actually getting units stuck inside terrain areas that they're not meant to access, and then they couldn't get out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there was I've done a few different videos, a few different maps, and so I picked this one thinking it'd be a nice safe map where we wouldn't see units getting stuck in high places where they can't get down from. Uncap. Nope. Good. I want the Eldar to win. I want them to win via cap. I want to see them win via crit location. They have the Dark Eldar boxed in right now, and this is the time that they could do it. Unless a Mandrake squad sneaks out the back, which they currently don't have in position to do so. Unless that happens, the Eldar are going to win by critical location, by take and hold victory. Yeah, I think take and hold victory is going to come in and maybe win this in the final hour. Unless a Mandrake squad sneaks through their lines, goes and claims it. I didn't realize that turned units off. I thought it just stopped them from moving. That's
3
unfortunate.
minutes until take and hold victory.
Just don't lose too much ground, Eldar. If you can just hold the enemy. Look at this. The Warp Spiders are actually still attacking this Dark Foundry as we speak. The Eldar just need to not lose too much ground. That looks like some Rangers. Or am I crazy? I could have sworn I saw invisible units moving. Why are you retreating? Okay, you've retreated back to here. Now get back out there. Send all your forces. Oh, okay, he's recapping some of these points that he lost. The Eldar must be pretty close to actually having the control point victory. What do they need? 66%, I think? Not 100% on the numbers that they need. But yeah, they've got a very, very dominant position. A few listening posts get set up around here, or listening shrines, whatever. No, don't you do it. Don't you do it.
2 minutes until
Okay.
take and hold victory.
I thought they were going to sneak through. That would have made me so upset. I actually wonder, I don't know how effective Harlequins are. Okay, they're doing good damage, but they sort of do it in a really awkward, slow kind of way. 2 minutes. 2 minutes until taken hold victory. We're almost there. Did they end up losing that Dark Foundry? They might have. It looks like it's full health now, but that might have been because they rebuilt it. I think the other reason I hate the Dark Eldar abilities... Wow, you're just losing all over the map right now. I think the other reason I hate the Dark Eldar global abilities is because you can only use them on a cooldown. You know, that's not great. You want to be able to use your abilities, I mean, not whenever. I guess it's just in general a really awkward system because there's not a cap on how many souls you can have. And if there is, it's a very high cap to the point where it doesn't matter. And when you can generate an infinite amount of resource for it, which is normally meant to be claimed by killing enemies and claiming their souls,
30 seconds until taken
you know,
hold
it's a
victory.
resource that doesn't matter, so you have to impose some sort of limit, and the limit they impose is the cooldowns. So the real only limiter to your Soulstorm style abilities, whatever they're called, is the cooldown. Oh my god, it's gonna happen. The Eldar have won. Congratulations to the Bael'Tan, taking it to the emasculators, showing them who's really emasculated here. I don't know, it made sense, I swear. Good job on that take and hold victory. So recap on the match: the Eldar didn't get fire prisms, didn't get the Avatar of Can, held a strong showing up here, pushed up, and eventually even blew up the exile, the outside extension base that the Dark Eldar had. The Dark Eldar, despite having their relic unit on the board at a point, were driven back, and I think that relic unit must have died at some point because I haven't been able to find it since, showing a completely dominant performance overall. The Eldar did over the Dark Eldar. And the Eldar will go on to face either the Necron or the Tau in what's either the overpowered fight or a very lore canon fight. Let's just go have a look at the scores real quick. So as you can see, Team 2, that was the Eldar, completely dominant in every single way. Military, actually even kills. That's fascinating. I like that a lot. That's so cool. But had the army size, the slight edge in army size, and obviously the buildings raised. Resources, doesn't matter. Spent less requisition, so that's pretty telling as well. But spent more power, substantially more power. Technology, units reinforced, that's that's amazing. The Eldar don't actually have many unit upgrades to get, so I understand that they didn't. Whereas the Dark Eldar, you want to get those Scourge upgraded constantly. So I can understand why that happened. Research count, this is kind of disappointing for the Eldar. It's a little disappointing that they never got to their high tier relic units, and I think that might have hinged on the tech available. They have to get that mobilized for war or whatever. But overall, it was a very... See, again, the kills show a much different story, that the Dark Eldar were giving as good as they got. And I like to think that really shows you how much closer it was than it seemed, and that's why I was sort of tipping one way or the other. But when it comes down to it, I have to ultimately give it to the team with the most captured points, basically, and who had the most map control at the point that the game ended. And so in future games, if I call it by time, I will go by kills. I will ignore most of the rest of it. Army size might sway me a little bit, but then what I'll really go off is how many times they had a relic captured a critical location and how many points they had captured over the course of it. The player who has more will naturally have been the more aggressive player, while the player who has less will have been on the defensive, on the back foot the entire time. So in the future, that is how I grade it. And thank you so much for joining me for this video. Join me again. Next round is Necron versus Tau. Write your winner in the comments below if you feel like it. Just guess. I have a feeling who I think's going to win, but who knows? Always can get an upset. And this will take us one more game and we're into round 2. So thank you and join me again for the next video.